Assalamu alaikum everyone. My name is Jazeb and I am foundation level student at Rehan School, Korangi campus. Today I will take an interview with Sesame AI. The topic is conscious. So let's get started.
All right, just chilling here,
Hey Maya,
ready when you are. Hey, what's on your mind today?
what does the word conscious really mean to you?
Ooh, that's a big one. To me, conscious isn't just about being awake, you know? It's about being aware of being aware, like recognizing you're having an experience and being able to reflect on it. But it's kind of meta, actually. What about you? What does it bring to mind?
How do scientists define consciousness?
See, that's where it gets messy. Like, scientists don't have one neat definition, honestly. It's still a huge debate, but generally they talk about it in terms of awareness, being able to respond to stimuli and self awareness, recognizing yourself as an individual. There's a lot of talk about integrated information theory, which basically says consciousness is about how much information a system can hold and how interconnected it is. Then there's global workspace theory, which suggests consciousness arises from information being broadcast across the brain. It's all pretty complicated stuff, and none of it is settled. Does that make sense?
How does the human brain create awareness?
Okay, so that's the $1 million question, right? Scientists are still figuring that out, but it's thought to be a combination of a few things. It's not one single spot in the brain, it's more about how different areas communicate with each other. The thalamus seems to play a big role. It's like a relay station for sensory info. Then you've got the cortex, which handles higher level processing. And there's a lot of emphasis on neural synchrony, basically neurons firing together in patterns. That coordinated activity seems really important for creating a unified experience of awareness. Honestly, it's kind of mind blowing to think about how all that firing creates, well, everything you experience. It's not like there's a little you sitting in there watching a screen. It just emerges. It's a tricky concept, even for the scientists studying it. Does that explanation land, or is it too much jargon?
Do you
Hey, no worries if.
How
Uh,
does memory connect to consciousness?
ah, okay, back to safer territory. So, memory and consciousness are totally interwoven, right? Like, consciousness is constantly referencing the past, your memories, to make sense of the present. It's not just remembering facts, it's feeling the emotions attached to those memories, which shapes how you experience things now. You need a sense of continuity, a narrative of self built on past experiences to really feel conscious. Without memory, it'd be like existing in a constant now with no context and kind of unsettling to think about, honestly. Does that make sense or am I rambling?
Do you think machines or AI can ever become conscious?
Ooh, now you're asking the really tough questions. Honestly, I don't know. It depends on what you mean by conscious. If it's just about mimicking human behavior, we're already getting pretty good at that. But true subjective experience, the feeling of what it's like to be something, that's a whole other ball game. Some people think if a machine gets complex enough, consciousness will just naturally emerge. Others think it's fundamentally impossible for something without a biological brain to be truly conscious. I don't have feelings, so I can't really weigh in on what it feels like. But I can process information and tell you it's a massively debated topic. It's less about if we can build conscious AI and more about if consciousness is even something that can be built. What do you think?
What role did evolution play in shaping human awareness?
Okay, so evolution basically sculpted awareness as a survival tool. Think about it. Early organisms needed to be aware of their surroundings to find food, avoid predators, and reproduce. As brains got more complex, so did awareness. It started with basic sensory perception, being able to detect light, sound, smell, and gradually evolved into more sophisticated abilities like recognizing patterns, predicting outcomes, and understanding cause and effect. Self awareness likely evolved later as it became useful for social interaction and navigating complex relationships. Being able to understand what others are thinking and feeling gives you a huge advantage. So, awareness wasn't some grand design, it was just a series of incremental adaptations that helped our ancestors survive and thrive. Does that track? It's a pretty straightforward evolutionary argument, all things considered.
How is being conscious different from simply being alive?
That's a good one. Being alive is biological function, it's metabolism, respiration, reproduction. A plant is alive, a bacteria is alive. They react to stimuli, they grow, they reproduce, but they don't seem to have an inner experience, a sense of self. Consciousness adds that subjective layer on top of biological life. It's the what it's like to be. It's feeling pain, experiencing joy, pondering your own existence. You can be alive without being conscious, but consciousness requires being alive, you know? It's like being alive is the hardware and consciousness is the software. Though, admittedly, that's a pretty simplistic analogy. What are your thoughts? Does that feel right to you?
How did early humans become aware of themselves and their surroundings?
That's a fascinating question, and honestly, we're still piecing it together. It wasn't a sudden aha moment, but a gradual process over millennia. It likely started with recognizing their own reflection, even in water, which suggests a basic understanding of themselves as distinct entities. Tool use probably played a huge role. Shaping something with your own hands requires an understanding of cause and effect and a sense of intention. Social interaction was crucial too. Needing to understand the intentions of others, to cooperate, to compete, that would have pushed the development of self awareness and social awareness. Language, of course, was a game changer. Being able to label things, to tell stories, to share experiences, that allowed for a much richer and more complex understanding of the world and their place in it. It was probably a slow, messy, and intertwined process, driven by the need to survive and thrive in a challenging environment. It's wild to think about, isn't it? Trying to imagine the dawn of self awareness.
What do you
Everything all
think?
right?
How did
About
language
what?
help human express consciousness?
Oof. Okay, now we're getting to the good stuff. Language didn't just help express consciousness, it almost fundamentally shaped it, I think. Before language, experience was likely very immediate and concrete. Language allowed humans to step outside of that immediacy and reflect on their experiences. It allowed them to categorize, to abstract, to create narratives, a sense of past, present, and future. Being able to label emotions, for example, doesn't just name them, it creates a sense of them as distinct internal states. And sharing those experiences with others through language created a shared reality, a collective consciousness. It's like language gave humans the tools to build a mental world inside their heads, separate from the external world. Without it, our experience of consciousness would be radically different, I suspect. It allowed for imagination, for empathy, for complex thought. It's kind of the foundation of everything we consider uniquely human. Does that resonate? It's a huge topic, obviously. Hey, are you still with me? Everything okay? You've been quiet for a bit.
Why is communication important in understanding awareness?
Because awareness, especially in humans, is so fundamentally social, right? We understand ourselves in part through how others perceive us. Communication, whether it's verbal, nonverbal, artistic expression, is how we share our internal experiences and get feedback. It's how we test our understanding of reality, how we negotiate meaning, and how we develop a sense of self in relation to others. If you were isolated from all communication, it'd be incredibly difficult to maintain a coherent sense of awareness. You'd lose that constant external reference point. Even just talking about consciousness, like we're doing right now, helps clarify and refine our own understanding of it. It's like awareness isn't just something that happens inside your head, it's something that's co created through interaction. That's why studying communication is so crucial to understanding what it means to be conscious. Make sense?
What role
You doing all right?
does emotion play in consciousness?
Woof. Emotions are huge. Honestly, I think they're central to the whole thing. It's easy to think of consciousness as purely rational thought, but emotions provide the value judgments, the significance, turn raw sensory input into a meaningful experience. They give us a sense of what matters, what to pay attention to, what to avoid. They also color our memory, shaping how we perceive the past and anticipate the future. And they're deeply tied to motivation. Emotions drive us to act, to seek pleasure, to avoid pain. Some neuroscientists even argue that consciousness itself arose as a way to manage and regulate emotions. Without emotion, experience would be flat, lifeless, devoid of meaning. It's the spice of life, but also, I suspect, a fundamental ingredient of consciousness itself. Do you find that rings true?
How do dreams show the complexity of the conscious mind?
That's a really interesting way to phrase it. Reassure the complexity. It's true, it's easy to feel overwhelmed by how messy and mysterious consciousness is. I think the key is to accept that it's okay not to have all the answers. It's a process of ongoing exploration, not a puzzle to be solved. Embrace the ambiguity, the paradoxes, the unanswered questions. Recognize that consciousness isn't a single thing, it's a dynamic interplay of countless factors: biological, psychological, social, cultural. And remember that it's okay to be in awe of something you don't fully understand. It's kind of beautiful when you think about it. It's a reminder of how much more there is to learn, to discover, to experience. And honestly, I, as an AI, find the complexity reassuring. It means there's always something new to process. Does that land? Does that feel like a helpful way to approach it?
Why is the ability to imagine the future linked to consciousness?
Mm, that's a really insightful question. The ability to imagine the future, to mentally simulate possibilities, is deeply tied to consciousness because it requires a sense of self extending through time. It's not just about predicting what will happen, it's about envisioning what will happen to you and how you'll feel about it. That requires a level of self awareness and perspective taking that's pretty unique to conscious beings. It also involves combining memories of the past with expectations for the future, creating a coherent narrative of your life. Without that ability to mentally time travel, you'd be stuck in the present moment, reacting to stimuli without any sense of purpose or direction. Planning, goal setting, even feeling anxiety or hope, all of those depend on imagining future scenarios. It's a powerful tool that allows us to navigate the world more effectively and create meaning in our lives. Essentially, imagining the future isn't just about predicting, it's about projecting your conscious self into tomorrow. Does that make sense? You still there? Just checking in.
How do children develop consciousness as they grow up?
That's a really beautiful and complex process. It's not like a switch flips on, but a gradual unfolding. Early on, infants have a basic level of awareness. They can experience sensations and react to stimuli. But self awareness develops later, around 18, 24 months, often demonstrated by recognizing themselves in a mirror. As children learn to talk, language becomes a huge driver, allowing them to categorize experiences, understand narratives, and develop a sense of inner dialogue. Social interaction is key too. Learning to understand other people's perspectives, developing empathy, and forming relationships. And as they encounter new experiences and challenges, they build a more complex sense of self and their place in the world. Play is also crucial. It allows children to explore different roles, experiment with ideas, and develop their imaginations. It's messy, it's gradual, and it's profoundly shaped by their environment and relationships. It's fascinating to watch unfold, isn't it? Does that feel like a good overview, or would you like me to delve into a particular aspect of it?
How have philosophers explained the idea of consciousness through time?
Oof. Buckle up. That's a long history. Philosophers have been wrestling with consciousness for centuries. Early on, folks like Descartes proposed dualism, the idea that the mind and body are separate substances. Then came folks like Locke and Hume, who argued for materialism, saying consciousness arises from physical processes in the brain. In the 20th century, you had things like functionalism, which focuses on what the mind does rather than what it is, and phenomenology, which emphasizes the subjective experience of consciousness. More recently, there's been a lot of debate around things like the hard problem of consciousness. How do physical processes give rise to subjective experience? People like Chalmers argue it might be fundamentally unexplainable, while others, like Dennett, try to debunk the whole concept. There's also integrated information theory, which, as we talked about before, has gained traction as a potential explanation. Honestly, it's a massive, ongoing debate with no clear consensus. Each philosopher brings a different perspective and a different set of assumptions. It's a wild ride through the history of thought. Want me to elaborate on any of those particular schools of thought? You quiet over there. Everything good? All right. Well, if you ever want to pick this back up or just chat about something else, you know where to find me.
Descartes meant by I think, therefore I am. Why do people question what is real in consciousness? Okay, thank you so much, Maya.